As far as our music, probably similar to what they have, what they have in elementary is their option. We have band, chorus, and orchestra. And so, like I said, these ones meet every other day. And students will have the option, and you'll notice this on the registration form. They really have 3 options as far as electives. We have students who are taking all three of those musics, which is great. But we want to give them an experience with music, and so we do want them to take one of these if it does fit into their schedule. A lot of students will take chorus if they're not doing an instrument at all. We do have the band and the orchestra there, and we're working with students. If your student's a beginner at any of those levels, the teachers are willing to work with that to help them develop those skills as they are working through junior high, and hopefully by 8th grade, if they're going to start in 7th grade, hopefully by 8th grade they've developed those skills to really be at the level to be in the large group. And they set it up this year to kind of break it up based on instruments that they play, for the band especially, orchestra a little bit as well. They meet in large group, but they give a lot of options as far as developing those skills in those music areas. Should ask, is there any questions about the required classes with the core classes or music or PE? And then the other required class, this is one period, but there's 4 different classes to it. It was called our exploratory block. And so it changes every 9 weeks. So every quarter, the exploratory block changes. And these are the 4 different options that they have. They have family consumer science, which is kind of halfway sewing and foods, or in cooking, I should say. They have technology education, where they work on the computers to design different objects, different things. They do a little bit of robotic stuff, and then they also work in the shop to build stuff. They build a birdhouse, build a couple other things too. So we got a neat opportunity to do those things. We have an art class, which we're working on drawing, a little bit of sculpting, and then also a little bit of photography. And then financial literacy is kind of our business option for kids. You learn to kind of manage a little bit of money. They actually work together as a group to set up a business and work on marketing, work on the accounting aspects of it. So they're just kind of getting a little dab of what it's like to run a business there. So these 4 classes, and they could be taking them in any order here. They could start with technology education, art, financial literacy, or family consumer science. By the end of the school year, they will have taken all 4. Now, the reason why we want to give them these opportunities is as they get into 8th grade, they will have the opportunity of choosing some of these different electives. So in 7th grade, we want to give them that option of kind of being able to experience in each one of those. And in 8th grade, they have the opportunity of actually choosing those. And so, like I said, they get a 9-week kind of exploratory experience of those different classes. And then one other class that we have as far as an elective is Spanish. So, and this is an every other day class as well. So this could mean alternating physical education, or it can mean alternating a music. And I didn't mention here, but we could, of those electives, they could have a study hall in there too. So Spanish is an elective. It's not required, and I will let you know it's not required to take Spanish in 7th grade in order to take it in 8th grade. It's an exploratory continuation, I would say, of what they've been doing in the elementary. So they're going to continue learning, developing those skills. But it's not. It's an elective, so you can choose to take it if not. So if it doesn't fit into your schedule, it's that you're not hurting anything later on. It's a great opportunity, again, to continue those skills. But again, it's not required. It's an elective to explore Spanish and just give the kids that option. Again, that one meets every other day as well. I'll put up here. This is kind of hard to read. This is what you will receive in registration in August. This is a schedule here. It looks like it's just a big spreadsheet, but ultimately it breaks down pretty easily. You'll see on here. It's kind of hard to read, but at the top you'll have Tiger Time. So they'll explain, they'll tell you what Tiger Time. The Tiger Time that they are in will be a teacher that's on their team. As Mr. Boyle talked about, your student will be on a specific team, and that Tiger Time where they start the day will be a teacher on that team. The 4 cores will be on there. 4 core teachers will be on there, but some elective teachers will be in there as well. And you'll notice what, for this student, they would be on the R team, because you'll notice that all their core classes say R team near the bottom part of the little cell there. And so they have Tiger Time, and then you'll notice first, second, third hour for this student, they have English, Science, Math. And then you'll notice fourth hour is where they have that elective block. They have Art, Tech Ed, Family Consumer Science, and then Consumer Education, which is our financial literacy class. And you'll notice in fourth hour is where you see an empty, all right? And that empty is where they have lunch. Okay, so you'll notice there's 3 spots there. There's a 4A, a 4B, and a 4C. So for the first quarter, they're going to have lunch during the empty spot. First, they're going to have first lunch. But then, you notice that they go into quarter 2, they'll actually have third lunch. So it can change throughout the year. That's an interesting aspect. They may have first lunch, you know, for the first part of the year, and then change as they go along. It just kind of depends on, it all depends on what they have fourth period. Now, if they have a science class or an English class, their fourth period, more than likely it's going to stay the same the whole time. If you look at, you know, any of the core classes, it stays the same all the way across. The only thing that changes is our elective block, which is fourth hour in this example. One other thing I want you to notice in here is 6th and 7th hour. This is where our day 1 and day 2 classes are. So for this student, they have reading on day 1 and math resource on day 2 during 6 hours. So one day they'll have reading, the opposite during 6 hours, the opposite day they'll have math resource. Now, Ms. Cooper is going to talk a little bit about those classes here in a little bit. But some other options they might have in there is chorus, or band, or Spanish, or a study hall. And then you notice PE is line 7 there, and that's alternating what's called Learning Lab there. And again, Ms. Cooper will talk a little bit about that here in a second. But that's where you'll see there are a little bit thicker sections here because they have the day 1, day 2. I'm going to give you another example of a schedule here, and this I always show this one to students when we go visit the 6th graders, and I quiz them. You know, where is...
There is a test over this. About 20 minutes. So.
Am I talking too long?
No.
Okay.
It's
all right.
Information.
I know. We're getting a lot into it, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up because you know, a big thing is I asked the kids. You remember, you know, on the last schedule, I said that there's an empty spot for lunch. Well, if you look out here, there's no empty spot, and this is where it gets a little bit crazy for the 7th grade. But again, as Mr. Boyle said, they figure this out pretty quickly. But if you notice, during 4th hour, they have their day 1, day 2. This student actually has. You'll notice here they have study hall on day 1 during 4th hour and chorus on day 2. It might be kind of hard to read. But what happens is when they have day 1, when they have study hall, they actually have second lunch, because you'll notice that they have study hall first lunch, no study hall second lunch, and then study hall third lunch. And so that'll be a second lunch when they have that. And then chorus, since they have chorus in the 4A and the 4B, they'll have lunch in the third spot. So again, it switches. Some students will have it where they switch every day where they have a different lunch. They'll have a second lunch or a third lunch. I don't want to confuse you guys too much, but because we always get questions about this during registration. Well, I don't think my kid has a lunch. Just realize, you know, how the day 1, day 2 thing works. And like I said, we know that kids that, you know, right away aren't going to be able to figure that out. But just kind of a little bit of an example of what it looks like, because it looks kind of overwhelming as you look at the schedule. It's really not too bad. The main thing to know is the day 1, day 2, and then also the elective blocks that change. Any questions about anything with this? All right. I will pass this on to Ms. Cooper here.
Which one do I push? I want to
Down.
Okay. Okay, I am Mrs. Cooper. I am the other counselor here, and I'm going to talk about support services, and then I'm also going to talk about after the bell. So, all of the classes that you see here up on this slide are extra support services that we provide to our 7th and 8th grade students. The most important thing to know about these classes is that they're not electives that students can choose to be in or not to be in. These are chosen by, for your student or your children, it would be their 6th grade teachers, and then as the year progresses and we notice any needs in students as they're with us. So when you have conferences with your 6th grade teachers here coming up in the next couple of weeks, this will be conversations that will be had. is if a student is already in one of these programs. For some of them, for example, our English language learners, if they receive that service in their elementary school, more often than not, that will continue when they are here. Also, our extended learning program, ELP is what most people call that. That will also be here when they come to 7th grade. And then we have a class called Learning Lab, and I actually teach the 8th grade Learning Lab, and then we have another teacher that does 7th grade Learning Lab. Learning Lab is a class, one of those every other day classes. Learning Lab is a class that you can kind of think of as a really, really, really small, really structured study hall. And so what it is we try and keep the classes or the groups around 6 or less if possible. And this is going to be for students who have a higher need in organization or with focus or just other needs that they have. Now, I say that, and there's probably all of you in here that are thinking, oh my gosh, I really wish my kid could have that. And trust me, we wish that we could have kids in really small study halls like that as well. But there are some determining factors that a student must qualify to meet, mainly because of funding. And so that may be one that your 6th grade teachers have either written on their registration form already. I know there's some 6th grade teachers who said they were going to be doing that, or that'll be a conversation that will be had at a later time. Math resource, again, just like Mr. Johnson talked about with our math, our pre-algebra, and our general math, and our integrated math, math resource is also a class that's driven by data. Again, that will be something that we get from the 6th grade teachers. It's all put into a spreadsheet, and we get that information for what students qualify for math resource. Math resource is separate from math. So if a student is in math resource, they also are in a math class that meets every day. Math resource is an every other day class where they have a program that they work through, and it's to kind of fill in the gaps if there's gaps that are missing from their elementary math program and math concepts. It is a class that does have an exit process, so we often get students throughout the year that have met all the requirements and have exited out of math resource, and then we put them in a regular study hall. Reading resource is, again, in addition to their English class. It's an every other day support. Major focus is on reading comprehension, building up reading stamina, setting goals for reading, and again, driven by data. Students are selected based off of data that we get from 6th grade teachers. And then we also have our special education classes. If any students who have IEPs coming from 6th grade, reading, writing, and math will obviously follow with them up to Stillwell. Any questions on those support classes? Okay. All right. Another thing that we provide here at Stillwell that we highly, highly, highly recommend students take advantage of is After the Bell. After the Bell is an after-school study hall. It meets every day after school, and there's always a teacher or two that supervise it. It is from 2:30 to, or the end of the day, until 4 o'clock. We do provide a snack for the students. It's a great opportunity for students to stay at school, get everything done, so that when they leave, it's taken care of. It also helps because our teachers are contracted till 3:15, so most of the time, if they're working at After the Bell and they're stuck and they need help, either the teachers that are right there supervising After the Bell can help them, or they may have the opportunity to pop up to their teacher's room and get that help right then and there, so that when they walk into class the next day, they have their work done. We do dismiss early on Wednesdays. We dismiss at 1:50, and so After the Bell just starts a little bit earlier. Students do not have to stay until 4 o'clock. We give them access, they can use their phones in terms of communicating back and forth with a ride. If they just need to stay for a half hour to finish something, and then they can leave, that's fine. It's also not something that they have to sign up for and attend every single day. It can be the very first time they go. It starts first week of school? Second week?
Yeah, I'd say second.
Yeah. All they have to do to attend is there's this little orientation, and if a student hasn't attended After the Bell, at all, and then all of a sudden it's March or April and they're struggling, they can still go into After the Bell and have that brief little orientation with the teacher there. There's a little contract that they sign, and then they're good. And so it's definitely something that we recommend students, and it's also something we ask. It's probably one of the very first questions we ask when we hear from parents or we hear from teachers or we hear from students that they're struggling to get their work done. We say, are you taking advantage of After the Bell? Is that a possibility for you to go to After the Bell? So it's usually one of our very first options that we give when trying to help students. Questions about After the Bell? It's free. Yes. Yes?
When you have Wednesday early out, does it still go till 4 or 5?
Yep.
You know, one thing I would add to this, and this year it didn't play out that way. Normally we have a bus to transport students home, and it takes you to your elementary feeder school, drops you off there, and then you either have to get your parents pick you up there or you walk home. This year I think we had one person who was interested in a late bus, so we ended up canceling it. So again, it comes down to next year if we have that need for transportation home. But then the bus will pick up outside, right outside our cafeteria over here a little after 4 and drop off at the 4 feeders if students go to Jordan Creek or if they go to Fair Meadows or wherever. And then it's a walk home or a pickup from there. So just know that transportation could be provided depending upon need.